Welcome to Beginner's Guide. In this tutorial, we are going to learn about JavaScript arrays. JavaScript arrays are list-like objects. A single array can store multiple data. Here is an example. Here is an array. Here we have stored more than one data into the variable name called fruits, meaning one variable holds three values here. This is what makes array more special. It can hold many values. Let's say if you don't have an array, so we have to create individual variables to store individual data. Instead of doing this one, we are using array to store multiple data in a one variable. So this is what makes array more interesting, and this is more efficient, isn't it so? If you want to create an array, there are two ways. One, arrays are created with square brackets. As you can see them here, this is an array we have created with a square bracket, and then inside the data are separated with commas. So there are different data here. Each data is being separated with a comma. There is another way that you can create an array. So let me just remove this part. So this is a one way. The another way is what you can do. You can just say variable. Let me say fruits. Here we are going to use a keyword as new array as a keyword. So inside, so within this parenthesis, we are going to pass the value. So same like the way that you have passed them here in the square bracket. What I am going to do, I am just going to copy and paste. So each data needs to be separated with a comma. So both of these are the ways that you can create an array in JavaScript. You can use square bracket, or you can use a keyword as new array to create an array. Let me say if you want to access an element from this array, let me remove this one because let me just stick with the first one. This is what we are going to be using in this tutorial. If you want to access an item from the array, is simple. I'm sure that you know arrays are 0 index. That means the count starts from 0, not from 1. So this is 0, this is 1, this is 2, right? So if you want to print the elements from this array, I'm sure that you know, you can say fruits, name of the variable, and then you can pass the array index. Let's say I'm going to print the first value from the array. So if you want to print the first value, as I said that array index starts from 0, so you have to pass 0. So when you say fruits of 0, what is going to happen? Is going to print apple. So if you want to print, simple, you can just do document.write method, and then inside you can pass this variable so that you can able to print the first element from the array. Let me save and refresh so that you would see how this one would works. As you can see them here, now apple has been printed. What if I want to print the second index? You can just say 2. So in this case, what is the second index? This is 0, this is 1, orange is the second index. So it should give us orange as the result. So this is how you can access the data from an array. In case if you want to add some items to the existing array, for example, here I have 3 items, isn't it? So apple, bananas and oranges. What if I want to add some more elements into my array? So that one can be done with the array method name called push. So what is this push method does? The push method adds one or more elements into the array. When you use the push as the method, is going to add the items into the end of the array. So you can add one or more items, that doesn't matter. But you should know that items are going to be pushed into the end of the array. So here, let me say this. So I'm just going to use the method name as, let's say, in the next line, I'm going to use fruits dot push as a method. Here you can pass as many as item as possible. Let me say I'm going to pass cherry. Then there is another item. Let me say strawberry. So these 2 items, I want to add them into the existing array. So this one can be done. All you need to do is just let me remove this one. So what we are going to print them is a fruits array. So here we are trying to push 2 more items into the existing array. When you use the push as a method, the item will be pushed into the end of the array. So here you can see apple, bananas, oranges, cherry and strawberry. So these 2 items is being pushed towards the end of the existing array. So that is the use of push method in JavaScript. Then there is a method named as UNSHIFT. So the UNSHIFT method adds one or more elements to the front of an array. So if you want to add something towards the end, you can use push. If you want to add something in the front of the array, all you need to do is you are going to use the method name as UNSHIFT. So this UNSHIFT method is going to push these elements into the beginning of the array. So let me save and run so that you will know how does this one would works. So this cherry and strawberry is being pushed towards the beginning of an array. So this UNSHIFT method is going to push this cherry and strawberry towards the beginning of an array. So when you use push, it's going to be the end of an array. When you use UNSHIFT, it's going to be pushed into the beginning of an array. Let's say I want to remove the items from this existing array. For that, you have to use the array method as pop. So when you use pop as a method, is going to remove the items from the array, but not one thing. This is not going to be remove the first element of the array. Instead, is going to be remove the last element in the array. So in this case, when I save and refresh, it's not going to remove the apple. Instead, it's going to remove the oranges. So let me go and refresh. You find that apple and bananas are there, orange is being removed. So what if I want to remove the first element from this array? For that, there is a method in array named called shift. So when you use the shift as a method, it's going to remove the first element from the array. So let me go and refresh. You will see apple is being removed from the existing array. So this is how you can add, remove items from an array. For example, if you want to get the length of an array, there is a method in JavaScript named called length. So for example, if you want to find out the length of this array, we can say is 3. In case if you have 100 items in an array, is it possible for you to find out the length of an array? It's not possible, right? In that case, we use a JavaScript default method name as length. So here I'm going to say fruits.length as a method. So this length method is going to give us the length of this particular array. Let me save and refresh. The length of this array is 3. So this length method is useful in case if you want to find out the length of an array. Now let's say I want to access the last element from this array. Is it possible for me to access? Yes, it is possible. Yeah, there are different ways you can pass the last index of an array so that you can able to access the last element in that array. Let's say your array size is big, you have got 1 million data in the array. In that case, how are you going to know the index of the last item? This is very difficult, right? But still there is a way that you can access the last element in the item. All you need to do is, let me create a variable. Maybe let me call that as a last item. I'm going to say from these fruits, I'm going to get fruits.length method. I'm going to subtract by 1, so -1, so that I can able to access the last element from this array. So here all you need to do is I just have to print the last item. So when I save and refresh, you will see I can able to print the last item from this array. So as you can see them here, oranges. So if you want to access the last item from an array, all you need to do is, so you have to use the method as length -1. Now we are going to learn how to loop through each items in an array so that we can print everything. For that, we are going to make use of for loop to print each items in that array. More specifically, I'm going to teach you how to use ForEach method to loop through all the items in an array. So what is ForEach? The ForEach method executes a provided function once for each array element. I know it sounds complicated. Let me explain you with an example. So here what I'm going to do, so here I'm going to use ForEach as a method. So here this is a variable, so I want to loop through that variable with ForEach method. So this ForEach method is going to take one callback function. So here we are going to have one callback function. So this callback function can have 3 parameters. These 3 parameters are optional. The first parameter is the item in the sense the items that are there in the array. Then the second parameter is an index, so the index value for that item. The third parameter is an array itself. So here we are going to have 3 parameters. First one is a value, let me say value or an item. Second one we can have an index. Third one is an array. So these 3 are the parameters that this callback function can take. So here these index and array, they are optional parameters. There is no need for you to have them. Even if you have them, there is nothing wrong, right? But these 2 are optional. But this value, which is nothing but the items, you can call this one as an value or items, the items that we want to loop through, right? So these are all the 3 parameters for this callback function. So let me say I want to print the items in this particular array together with the index. Let's say I'm just going to focus on the first parameters and the second parameters. So here inside what I'm going to do, I'm just going to say document.write function. So what I want to print is I want to print the item inside the array with an index value. So for that what I'm going to do, I want to print them in a paragraph. So let me pass p as a tag. Within this paragraph tag, I'm going to print the index. So index is, this is a 0th index, right? So let me say I'm going to print the index colon. what is the index? Where am I going to get the index from? With this parameter that I have passed them here, right? So what is a parameter? Plus index, that is a parameter. So this parameter is going to give me the index of an item. Then from there, what else am I going to print? Let me say, let me just have a break so that we can print them in the next line. Then from there, let's say I want to print the value. So here let me say value. So this value is nothing but the items, right, as a parameter. So here I'm just going to say, let me just concatenate with this parameter items, so that I can able to print the items, right? So let me save and refresh my browser so that you would see how does this one would look like. So index is 0, the value is apple. Index is 1, the value is bananas. Index is 2, the value is oranges. So when you use for each, is going to take a callback function. That callback function would take 3 parameters. In that 3 parameters, this index and array is an optional parameter. If you want to have them, you can have it. Otherwise, the intention is to loop through the elements in this array. So in this case, I want to loop through all the items in this array. So you can just pass items so that you can be able to print the items. If you want to print the items with an index, this is a way that you can do, so that you can able to print the index value and the items in that particular array. Let's do something interesting. For example, here what I'm going to do, let me say I'm just going to make a copy of these things. So now I have got 2 apple, 2 bananas, 2 oranges. Now I'm going to use this for each method to find out the occurrences of this array. For example, here this apple, the occurrence is 2 times, bananas is 2 times, oranges, let me just remove this one just for the sake of understanding, right? So the bananas has been found 2 times, oranges has been found 1 time, and apple has been found 2 times. What if I want to find out the occurrences of this particular items in the array? So that one can be done with the help of this for each method. So all you need to do is, so what I'm going to do, so here instead of passing 3 parameters, I'm just going to stick with items, because I just want to find out the occurrences of the items in an array. So the parameter item is enough for me to find the occurrences. So here what I'm going to do, I'm just going to have the simple if condition. Before I have a simple if condition, let me create a variable with an object. Let me call this one as an occurrence. So this occurrence is an object. So here what I'm going to do, I'm just going to check the if condition. If this particular occurrence of items, if I find that items, what I'm going to print them is occurrence plus equals 1. So I'm going to increment the occurrence value, isn't it so? Let me just change the spelling here. So what does that mean? Every time when I find the items in that occurrence, I need to increment by 1. Else I'm just going to print occurrence. Let me set it, and then the item are going to be 1. So if I find this occurrence item more than 1 time, I'm going to be incremented, or I can just say occurrence plus plus, isn't it so? Or I'm just going to set the occurrence to 1, because that occurrence is just found that only 1 time. Let me console log this one to see the result. So what I want to console log is the occurrence. Let me say, go to my browser, I'm just going to console log it. It says none. Why? Maybe, sorry, the thing is I've removed the items here, no wonder there is an error. So here I want to increment the items of that particular occurrence. So here let me just say occurrence. So when I save and refresh, it should give me the occurrences. So apple 2 times, bananas 2 times, and oranges 1 times. I hope now you understood how this for each loop would work. Then let us do another one more example, the interesting one. So what I'm going to do, let me just create this numbers as a variable. Let me say const numbers. So here I'm going to say the numbers 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So this is my array. So in that array, what if I want to find out the sum of all the elements in this array? So that one can be done. Let's say let sum is equals to 0. I'm going to use the for each loop. So here I'm going to say numbers dot for each as a method. So inside I'm going to have the function. This function, I'm just going to take the items in that array. So in that array, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to do the addition. Let's say I'm just going to return what am I going to return here is sum plus equals items. So when I save this one, let me go and refresh. So here what I want to print them here is the sum. Let me save and refresh. You see 30. So when you add this one, 6, 12, 20, 30. Now I hope you have understood how to work with for each loop in JavaScript. Now let us move to the next one. Let us learn about the map method in JavaScript. The map method creates a new array. Remember, the map method creates a new array. So in order to use this map method, we are going to use map as a keyword. This map method is going to have the callback function. Just like for each method is going to take 3 parameters, same like values, index and array. Though index and array, they are optional parameter. If you want to loop through the items in this particular array, all you need to do is items as a parameter. So here what I'm going to do, I'm just going to say numbers dot map as a method. So it's going to take a callback function. So this callback function can have 3 parameters, items, index or array. So here I'm just going to have items as a only parameter, right? So here what I'm going to do, I'm just going to return the items in this array and then I'm going to multiply by 2. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to do the document.write function. So what I want to print them is the numbers. Okay, let me save and refresh. Let's see what is the result. It's just returning me the actual array. As I said that the map function would return a new array. So the new array is this 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. If you want to return the values in this array, all you need to do is you just have to create another variable. Let me say multiply equals, then this is a method. So this map method is going to return a new array. So in that new array, whatever the calculation that you perform is going to be stored into the different variable. When you print these values now, multiply numbers, let me save and refresh, you would see it's actually going to perform this multiplication by 2. So if you don't use another variable to store the values from the map function, it's still going to return a new array with the same elements. So let us do something interesting to understand this map function. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to create an array of objects. So when I say array of objects, what I'm going to do, let me say, I'm just going to say let fruits, and this is going to be an array. So this array, I'm going to have different objects. So the first object, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to say name, the parameter is apple, and then here I'm going to say the next parameter as a price. Let me say $5, comma, maybe next one, the quantity in the stock, maybe I have 100. This is the quantity that I have. So let me make more objects. I think these are enough. Here I'm just going to say orange. So let me say this one as a $2. The quantity that I have them is, so here I am having bananas. The price is $3. The quantity is 100. Right now I want to make use of the map function to loop through these objects in this particular array. Let's say I want to print some details of this particular array of objects. So what I can do, as I said, we can still make use of the map method. So here I'm going to use the map method. So let me say fruits dot map method. So it's going to take a callback function. So let me say I just want to print the items. So here what I'm going to do, in that items, what I want to print them is, let's say I just want to return item dot price. I want to multiply with items dot quantity, let's say, right? So if I say here what I want to print them here is fruits. When I say on refresh, it's just going to give me the actual objects, because I have got 1 object, 2 object, 3 object. Is going to just return me the actual array of objects because I have got 3 objects. As I say, that is just going to return the new array. But if you want to get the actual value, all you need to do is create another variable. Let's say fruits data. So here let me just print the fruits data. See what will happen. Let me say one refresh. you will see 500, 100 and 300. What does that mean? Items dot price. So it goes to the first one. The item 5 times 100 is 500, 2 times 50 is 100, 3 times 100 is 300. That is the reason why the result is 500, 100 and 300, because here what we have done, we want them to return the items from these items. So these things are items. So from that items list, we are going to calculate the price. So what's the price? 3. And then we are going to multiply with the quantity. So 3 times 100, 2 times 50 and 5 times 100. No wonder that it is giving us a result saying 500, 100 and 300. So this is another way that we can use map function if you have an array of objects. Now we are going to learn about array reduce method. Let's say you have an array of numbers like this and you want to calculate the total number of elements of this particular array. So typically you use for loop to iterate over the elements and add them up so that at the end you can find out the sum, right? Let me show you what I mean. So here let me say let sum is equals to 0. So for example, if I want to reduce this array, what I mean is I want to add all the elements in this array so that I can find out the sum of this particular array. So what you can do, usually you can use for loop, so you can iterate them through. So let me say let I is equals to 0, I less than numbers dot length, then where you can increment the I value. So inside all you need to do is you are just going to say sum. Let me use the assignment operator here. So what you can do, you can say numbers dot I. So when you just print the sum here, you will get the sum of all the elements in that particular array, right? So let me save and run. You have seen 6. So what does that mean? We are trying to add all the elements in this particular array. Alright. So here what we have done was to reduce an array into a value. The array type provides a method called reduce that helps you to reduce an array to a single value, exactly like the way that we have done. So that method we call them as an reduce method. So that reduce method is going to take a callback function. That callback function is going to take 4 parameters. First one is an accumulator, second one is a current value, third parameter is a current index, fourth parameter is a current array. I mean the array that we are talking about. Again, it can take an optional value of initial value. Let me just show you what I mean. So here what we are going to do, the same example, we are going to use the array method name called reduce. Let me say sum equals, what you are going to do, numbers dot reduce as a method. So this reduce method is going to do exactly what we have done with the for loop before. So it's going to take a callback function. This callback function can have 4 parameters. First one is an accumulator, second one is a current value or a current item. What I mean is current value, the item that we have them in an array. Let's say a current value. Then the next one is current index, and then the last parameter is array itself. So this is a 4 optional parameters this particular callback function can have. So here let's say I just want to have only 2, current value and accumulator, to reduce this array. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to say return. What I want to return is accumulator. It's a function. I'm just going to use assignment operator to add this current value. So what does this exactly does? For example, this accumulator, if you don't provide an initial value, here you can provide an initial value, is an optional. In case if you don't provide an initial value, this accumulator will be assigned to 0. Then what is the current value? Current value is nothing but the values that we have them in our array. So the current value means it will go to the first value in the array, which means 0th index is 1. So initially the accumulator value is 0, then the current value is 1. So 0 plus 1 is equal to 1. That 1 will be added to the accumulator. Now the accumulator value is 1. Then the current value will becomes 2. The accumulator value is 1 plus 2 will be 3. Again, now the accumulator value is 3. The current value is 3. So it will go to the next index. It will add 3 plus 3, then 6. So at the end, what we are going to get them is 6 as a result. So what does this accumulator do? Accumulator will store the values after every iteration. So when you have 4 here, let's say you're going to have 4 here. Currently the accumulator value is 6. Then the current value is 4. So 6 plus 4, it will be 10. So the accumulator value is 10. So it's going to return 10. So this reduce method is help us to reduce the array size into 1. So let me refresh so that you can get 10 as a result. As you can see them here, you have gotten 10 as a result. So what is this reduce method exactly does is help us to reduce the size of an array. Let me give you an interesting example to understand more about how this reduce method would works. So what I'm going to do, let me create an array of objects for the products. So here I'm going to type some codes, then I'll explain you what we are going to do exactly. So as you can see them here, I have an array of objects. Inside I have a product like phone, screen protector and a memory card. Each product has got the quantity and the price. So here we are going to make use of the array reduce method to reduce this entire objects of array into one value. So here what I am trying to use, as I said, that you can have a callback function with 4 parameters. Like you can have the accumulator, values, current index, and an array, and then if you want you can pass the initial value, right? If you don't pass the initial value, then accumulator value will be initially set to 0. But if you pass any value as an initial value, that value will be assigned to the accumulator value. So let me use an initial value for this example to make it more clear. So here what I'm going to do, I'm just going to do like, I'm going to create a variable. Let me say let total. So this total is going to take this variable like shopping cart dot reduce method. So this reduce method is going to take a callback function. So this callback function can have 4 parameters. So here in this case, let me say I'm just going to have the accumulator and then the current value. Let me say current. So within this function, what I want to do is I just want to return the accumulator value. Let's say, as I say, that you can pass the initial value to the accumulator, right? So here what I'm going to do, here I'm going to say comma 0. So what does this mean, comma 0? This 0 is the initial value. What does that mean? Initially the accumulator value will be 0, right? So here I'm going to say return accumulator plus current value dot this curr dot, what I want to get them is a quantity from that array of object. I want to multiply that one with current value dot let's say price, and then here what I want to return them here is a total. So what I'm trying to say here is I want to reduce this array. So let me have this declaration out of the array of objects, just like that, right? So here what I'm going to say, so here what we are trying to say, here we have an array of object. Each object has got the product, quantity and the price. Here we are trying to reduce all these objects that are found in the array into one product. So that's the reason why we are using reduce as a method. So this reduce method is going to reduce this array of object into one item. So what we are trying to calculate here is we are trying to calculate the current value with the quantity, and then we are going to multiply with the current value with the price. So here 2 times 10.99, so up there is going to be 1 times 10.89, 1 times 699. So this is what we want to multiply, so that after that we are just going to put everything as a one value, and then we are going to return them here. So this accumulator can have an initial value if you want. So initially I have assigned them to 0, so initially the accumulator value will be 0. It's not like it's going to the first array. So initially I have set them to 0, so accumulator value initially will be 0. Then current quantity plus current price, what does that mean? Is going to the first array, 1 times 699. So initially the accumulator value is 0, 0 plus 699, so it's going to be 699. Now the accumulator value will be 699. So then from there 1 times 10 is like 10.89. So this 699 plus 10.89 is going to be 700 and something, right? So accumulator value will be 700 and something. Again it's going to add with this one, so that is how it will work. Then it will return the total value. So when I go and refresh, it's going to return as 731.87. I'm sure that if you're good at mathematics, you can even able to calculate. Still you are going to get this value. So the reduce method help us to reduce the array into one value. So this is the use of reduce method in JavaScript. Then there is another method called ReduceRight. So the ReduceRight method works in the same way as the reduce method, but in the opposite direction. For example, if you use ReduceRight as a method, we are still going to get the same result, yes, but it works in the opposite direction. So what do I mean to say opposite direction? It's not going to start from the first object, instead it's going to start from the last object. So first initially the accumulator value will be 0, then is going to multiply 2 times 10.99, then it's going to produce this result. 2 times 10.99, what is the result? Should be 21 point something, right? So this 21 point will be added to the accumulator, then from here it will go and add this product, then from there it will go to this first index to multiply the value. So it will go in the other way around. If it is a reduce method, it is going to start from the zeroth index, first index, and then the second index. When you use ReduceRight as a method, is going to start from the last index, then going up to the zeroth index. That is how ReduceRight method would work in JavaScript. Now I hope you know how to work with the reduce method and ReduceRight method in JavaScript. Let us learn about filter method in JavaScript. The filter method creates a new array. The new array only contains the elements that passed the test implemented by the provided function. Let me show you this example. So here we are going to use a filter as a method. So let me say numbers dot filter as a method. So this filter method is going to take a callback function. So this callback function is going to take 3 parameters. You can take values, index, and array. Let me just use values alone here. So what we can do here, we can just say, let's say I want to return the number that are less than 6. So what you can do, let me say return, what you want to return, the items that are less than 6. Remember, you have to create a variable here to store the variable. So let me say small numbers. So I just want to print the small numbers here. So here when I print small numbers, it should print the values that are less than 6. Let's see how does this one works. 1 2 3 4 5. What if I want to print an odd numbers? So the formula is items modulo division by 2 equals 1. I hope so. Let me save and refresh. Let's see how does this one works. We are good. Now we can able to print the odd numbers. If you want to print the even numbers, all you need to do is you have to just make this one as a 0 so that you can able to print the even number. So this is how the filter function can be used. Let's say we want to remove some duplicate items from the array. Actually, to do that, there is a lot of effective methods that can be used. This is not the way that you can use to remove the duplication, but even with the filter function we can still remove the duplications. So what I'm going to do, let me just copy and paste these items once again so that we can check if we can able to remove the duplication using this same filter function. So for that, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to use the function here, return. Here instead of 1 parameter, let us make use of 2 parameters, even 3 parameters. Let me say the another parameter is index, the third one is an array. So here inside, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to say this array dot indexOf method. So what is the use of this indexOf method? Though we are going to learn about this indexOf method. So this indexOf method would return the first occurrence of an item. So if you want to find out the index of the number 4 here, the occurrence of 4 is 2 times, right? There is this one and this one. But when you use indexOf as a method, it's going to return the first occurrence of the item. So in this case, we are going to use the array, and then we are trying to return only the first occurrence of the item. What are you going to pass? The items. So here this indexOf method is going to return the first occurrence of the items, and then we are trying to set them to index so that it can remove the duplication. Let me save and run. Let's see if this one can remove the duplication. We are good. So what does that mean? This indexOf would return only the first occurrence of the item. So if the item is found in 2 times, this condition will fail. If this condition is fail, that item is not going to be printed. I think this one would make sense. So this is how filter function would work in JavaScript. Now let us learn about the join method in array. The join method creates and returns a new string by combining all the elements. The elements are separated by the specified separator character. If none is specified, it separates the elements with commas. Let me show you. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to create another variable. Let me say new item. So here I'm going to say equals fruits dot join as a method. Initially, if you don't specify anything inside, it's just going to separate all the elements in the array with commas. So let me show you this. So I have not specified anything within the join method. So now what I want to print them is a new item. So when I print this one, you will see each items will be separated with comma. As you can see them there, after every element there is a comma. But if you want to specify a separator, you can do that. Let me say I want to separate them with a dash. So save, it will be a dash, no commas. As you can see them here. Maybe after the dash, if you want to give a space, just give a space here so that there will be a space there as well. As you can see them there. So if you want to give a space here, give a space, save, there will be a space. If you want to change this one to anything else, it's up to you. If you use at, it will be at as a separator. So it's up to you, right? What if here in my array, let's say I just have only one item? In that case, if I don't use anything, what will happen? By default it's going to be comma, right? But if your array has got only one item, is it going to be separated with comma? It won't, because the array has got only one item. Even if you specify with an separator, it's not going to work because your array has got only one item. This is how join method would work in array. Now let us learn about the split method in JavaScript. The split method takes a separator string as an argument. The method splits the string at each point where the separator occurs. So let me show you this example. Here there is a text saying I love JavaScript. So if I use split as a method, as I said, is going to separate each of the text with commas. For example, let me say, I'm going to say a new text equals, I'm just going to say text dot split as a method. So when I just pass this argument, so when I go and refresh, so there is nothing here, because let me just change the name of the item here is now new text. Let me save and refresh. You will see each character in this text is being separated with a comma. In case, let's say each of these items, they already have the dashes in between. So let's say if you want to remove the dashes there, just pass the dash here. In case if there is no space in between, let's say like this, it's going to be separated with I, love, JavaScript. Let's say I just want to remove the spaces there. Save, refresh. It's going to say I, love, JavaScript. So it's going to separate them with commas for each of those characters. So this is how split method would work in JavaScript. Next we are going to see how to merge two arrays. So for that there is a method name called concatenation. That one would help us to merge two different arrays. So let me have this example here to explain how the concatenation would work in JavaScript. I'm going to have first array, let me say fruits 1. So here I'm going to have some elements, let me say banana, and then I can say apple, then the third one I can say oranges. So this is my first array. Then I can have another array. So what I can do, let me just copy and paste. So this one I can call them as a fruits 2. So here I can have, let me say cherry, strawberry, grapes. Now I have two different arrays. What if I want to put them together as a one array? So there is a method in JavaScript that can be used, name called concatenation. So let me show you how to use that one. So I'm going to create another variable. Let me say let a new array. Here I can say I want to concatenate this second array with the first array. So what I can do, what is the name of the first array? Fruits dot, I am going to use concatenate as a method. So this is a keyword. So this concatenation, what do you want to concatenate into the first array? You want to concatenate the second array, right? So just pass the name of the second array and then print this new item now. So you would see both of the arrays would be concatenated as one. So let's say bananas, apple, oranges, cherry, strawberry and grapes. What if I have more than two array? Here I have got only two arrays, so there is a first array. I'm going to pass the second array. What if I have another array here? Let's say, let me copy and paste them here. So let me call this one as a fruits 3. Here let's say I'm going to have another fruits like guava. Then here I can have avocados, right? So let me say only I have got these two fruits. So what if I want to concatenate all these three arrays into one? So before we had just only two, so one dot the second one. Now we have three. How are we going to concatenate? Simple, just separate them with comma, then just use fruits 3. Then save and refresh. You will find that even the third array will be concatenated. So you see guava and avocados is being included into one array. So if you have more than one array, just separate them with comma. This is how you can concatenate more arrays into one using JavaScript array method. I hope now you have understood. Now the next method that we are going to learn is indexOf methods. So what is the use of this indexOf method? In case if you have duplications, that duplications can be removed with the help of this indexOf method. I'm sure that we have already seen an example with this indexOf method to remove the duplications. So this indexOf method is going to return the index of the first occurrence of an item in an array. For example, let's say I have got bananas, apples, oranges. Let's say here I'm going to have another banana, right? So in this particular array, let me remove this for now, even this one. So let me say let new item. So here I can say fruits dot indexOf as a method. So here I'm going to pass the name of the item from the array. So let's say I'm going to pass banana. So here in this particular array, the occurrence of the bananas is been found 2 times, right? But when you use indexOf as a method, is going to return the first occurrence of an item. So in that case, 0 is the first occurrence, right? So when I go and refresh, so here what I want to print them is new item. So let me save and refresh again. So it's going to return me 0 because banana, it has 2 places where there is a 0, 1, 2 and 3. So 0 and 3, that is where the banana is being found. But when you use indexOf as a method, it's going to return the first occurrence of an item in the array. When you use LastIndexOf as a method, is going to return the last occurrence of an item. So in that case, it's not going to return 0 for this banana. It's going to return the index of this particular banana. So what is the index of that particular banana? So here is an uppercase. I wonder that it's not giving us an, even this of O is an uppercase. So let me save and refresh so that you would see it will return the last occurrence of this particular item in this array. So this is how the indexOf and the last indexOf item would work. So what if I use the lowercase here instead of uppercase b? Let's say I'm going to use lowercase b. So when I refresh, you would see -1. Even when I use indexOf method instead of LastIndexOf, let me say indexOf method. Let me save and refresh. Even this one is still returning -1. What does that mean, this -1? This -1 is nothing but the item that I have passed them here is not found in the array. There is banana, but it's not exactly the same way that you can pass them here because this is a lowercase p. So there is nothing like lowercase starting with a lowercase p in the actual array. That is the reason why it's returning as -1. So if you pass a value here and if that value is not part of the array, then it's going to return -1 in both indexOf and LastIndexOf method. So when you find -1, meaning that that item is not found in the actual array. This is how indexOf and LastIndexOf array method would work. In case if you want to check if the value is included in an array, there is a method that can be used. So here this banana is not included in the list. No wonder that it is returning -1, right? So if you want to check if this value is included in an existing array, there is a method name called include. So use includes as a method. So this method would return true in case if this item is found in the existing array. If this item is not found in the existing array, then it would return false. Let me save and refresh, then you will see the result. The result is false, meaning there is no item like this in an actual array. So this is a use of includes in JavaScript to check if a given item is found in the actual array or not. Now we are going to learn one of the important array method in JavaScript named called slice. What is slice and what is the use of slice? The slice method returns a new copy of a section of an array. Note that the slice method does not modify the existing array. Instead, it creates and returns a new array. Let me show you this. So here we have an array with an item like bananas, apples and oranges. When you use slice as a method, it's going to create new array from this array. For example, slice, the name itself is there. It's going to slice apart from this array, then it's going to create a new array. It's not necessarily is going to modify the existing array. It's going to remove something from an existing array, but it does not modify the existing array. For example, let's say you have an apple and you make a slice from that apple. So when you remove some part from that apple, it's not necessarily that apple will become banana. That apple will remain as apple, right? So you just removed a part of apple just to eat, right? Same like here, even when you use the slice as a method, that slice method is going to create a new array with this sliced item. Not necessarily that slice method is going to modify the actual array. So let us do this. So I'm going to say fruits dot slice as a method. So this slice method would take two parameters. First one is a starting array, second one is an ending array. So when I say start, when I say 2, so this is a place where I'm going to start slicing from. So this is the index of an array. This is 0, this is 1, this is 2. So this is where I'm going to start doing the slice. So this is my starting point. So let me say 4. 4 is the end of my slicing. So here let's say this is a 2, this is a 3, there is no item in the 4. So meaning when you take two parameters, this one is a starting of an array index, this one is an ending array index. So here this 2 will be included, meaning when you want to make a slice, this array index 2 will be included. This 4 will be excluded. Even if you have an item there, let me say I'm going to have an item saying Goa. So this is a fourth index, right? So here when you say 2, these oranges will be included. This fourth index will be excluded. So I'm going to make a slice starting from this second index up to third index. I'm not going to include the fourth index. So when I save and refresh, you would understand how the slice method would work. So it's going to print oranges and banana. So it's going to take two parameters. This is the starting of an index, this is an ending of an index. So it's going to include the starting index and it's going to exclude the final index. So here when I say 0, it's going to include 0, 1, 2, 3 and the fourth index will be excluded. When I save and refresh, you will see bananas, apple, oranges, and again there is a banana is being printed. That fourth index is being excluded. The Goa is being excluded because this end index we don't include them in a slice method. So this is how slice method work. So as I said, it's going to make a slice, it's going to make a new array from an existing array. That doesn't mean that we are going to modify the existing array. We are just going to create a new one, right? Then the next method that we are going to see them is a splice. This one is a slice. So the next method is a splice. So this splice method would take three parameters. It's going to take the starting array and then it's going to take the delete count. So let's say this one is a starting array, the second one is the delete count, and the third one is an element. Let's say element 1 comma element 2, etc. This is the parameters for this splice method. So what it does, the splice method changes the contents of an array. It's not like a slice. Slice is not going to modify the actual array. Instead, it's going to create a new array. But the splice can change the actual array. If you want to add items to an array, you can. If you want to remove some item from this array, can. If you want to replace, it can. So this splice method actually can modify the array, but slice, it won't modify the array. So let me show you this simple example. As I said that the splice method has three parameters. First parameter is the first index. Second parameter is the delete count, meaning that my array index going to start from the first index, meaning apple. The second parameter is delete count. I don't want to delete anything. Then the third parameter is an element. What if I want to add some elements, like I'm trying to push something into my existing array. Let's say I'm just going to push strawberry, and then I want to push another element. As I said, that element 1, element 2, how many you can put as many as if you can, right? Let me say I'm going to put grapes. So these two elements I want to push into this array, right? So when I save and refresh, there is nothing here. Remember, as I said, this splice method is not going to create a new array. It's going to deal with the actual array. So here, if you create a new variable, it's like you're going to store them into this new variable, right? So we are not going to create any new array. So there is no need for you to have another variable to store the value, because we are going to make changes in the actual array. So for that, we are going to use fruits.splice as a method. This is a starting index. So starting index is 1, that is apple. So how many elements do you want to delete? I don't want to delete anything. That is the reason why there is 0. But I want to add these two elements into the array. So let me save and refresh. Then you will see the result. So it's still not showing anything. What is wrong? So I have to use fruits here. We save and run. You can see banana is the first one. I said that this is a first index. Where do you want to include them? At the first index. What is there before in the first index? Apple. So this apple will be pushed, and then this strawberry will come and take that place of the first index. Then the second index will be given to the grapes. Then apple will be pushed to the third index. Then this is fourth, and this is fifth, and this is sixth. So this is how the splice work. As I said, that splice can make changes in the actual array. For example, here we have managed to add some items into our array, right? Existing array. What if, as I say, that you can even remove some items from existing array. So in that case, what we can do, let me just remove this one. I'm not going to add anything. Instead, I'm just going to remove. So if you want to remove, what you need to do is, you need two parameters. First one is, what do you want to remove? You have to specify the position. Let me say at the 0th index, I want to remove from the 0th index. How many elements do you want to remove? Maybe the next parameter is a delete count, right? So I'm going to say 1. I want to remove only one item. So it will be removed the item that found in the 0th index. So when I go and refresh, you will see this banana will be removed now. So it starts from apples, oranges, and banana and guava. So if I say 2, from 0th index, 2 items will be removed. So this one and this one would be removed. So let me go and refresh. You will see it's starting from oranges, because starting from 0th index, 2 items will be removed. So 0th index and the first index, there 2 items will be removed. Then we will start printing the third item. So if you want to remove multiple items, this is how you can specify. You can just specify how many items that you want to delete from that index. So if you say first, so here what does that mean? From first index, I want to remove 2 items. In that case, apple is the first index. So apple and oranges will be removed. This bananas, this guava will be printed. When I go and refresh, you see banana, and guava has been printed. So this is how splice method would work. You can add or you can remove. If you want to remove more than one item, you can specify the index and how many items that you want to remove. So everything will be removed. For example, let's say starting from the 0th index, I want to remove everything. How many items are there? 2, 4, 5. So when I say 5, everything will be removed, right? So we will have nothing here because everything is being removed. So this is how. So when you say 4, only the last item would remain. The rest of the items will be removed. So only guava will remain. So this is how you can add or remove. What if I want to replace? That one is simple. I'm sure that you already know, right? You can just pass. There is no need for you to splice method. If you want to replace something, you can say just like fruits 1, and then the first, maybe let's say the 0th index, I just want to change this one to something like jackfruit. So in that case, the banana will be replaced with jackfruit, right? So I hope you know that one. So this is how we can use splice method. So there is a difference between the slice and the splice. Slice won't change the array. The actual array will remain as it is, but it will create a new array. But splice can make changes in the array. It can remove, it can add, it can replace items in an existing array. So these two are one of the major array methods in JavaScript. I hope now you know how to use slice and splice method. Now we are going to learn how to sort the arrays using array methods. So there is a method name called sort in case if you want to sort the array of items. Let me show you how that sort method would work. So here I'm just going to say fruits dot sort as a method. So this method is going to sort the array. So let me refresh this one so that you will see how does this one would work. So this sort method, if you don't pass any value as an argument, by default is going to sort the array in ascending order. Ascending order in the sense array is going to be sorted alphabetically. So apples, bananas, guavas, grapes and orange. But this is not the order in the actual array, isn't it? So just because of this sort method is going to sort this given array into an ascending order. In this case is going to ascend the order alphabetically. In case if you have a number saying 1, 2, 3, 4, if you have a number mixed number, is going to sort the number like in ascending order starting from 1 going upwards. So this is how this sort method would works. In case what if you want to sort a given array in a descending order, is there a way that can be done? Yes, because this sort method will take a function name called compare function. So that compare function would take two parameters. Let's say a and b are two parameters for that compare function. So when you compare the function a with b, if it is returns less than 0, then a comes first. If it is returns 0, then a and b are unchanged. If it is returns greater than 0, then b comes first. So when a comes first, which is nothing but is going to be displayed in an ascending order. When b comes first, is going to be return the elements in a descending order. When both a and b are equals, is just going to be in the same order. So this is how it's going to work. So let me show you a simple example to understand with this compare function how does that one works. So here instead of fruits, let's have numbers. Okay, let me say 5 comma 3 comma 4 comma 2 comma 1, right? So these numbers, they are not in orders, right? So let me create this variable as numbers. So even what I want to print them here is numbers. So here, as I said, we are going to use the compare function in case if you want to sort the values or an array based on an ascending order or descending order, you can use a compare function. So let's say how to use the compare function. So here I'm going to say numbers dot sort method is going to take a function. So this function is going to take two parameters, as I said, a comma b. So here inside I'm going to say when this one returns a minus b, then it's going to return the results in an ascending order. So let me go and refresh. You see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If this result is b minus a, is going to return the values in a descending order. Let me refresh. As you can see them there, the result is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So it's going to return the result in a descending order. So I hope now it is making sense how this sort function would work in JavaScript. Let's say, let me just give you another example to make it more clear how this sort function would work. What if I want to find out the highest number in this given array? So for that, all you need to do is here you're just going to create a variable. Let's say variable highest. This variable I'm going to assign them to numbers of 0. Let me save. So this one is going to return as the highest number in this array. But remember, this return has to be b minus a, because this b minus a is going to return a values in a descending order, meaning highest number first, then followed by the lowest number. So when you say variable highest numbers of 0, meaning what does that mean? The 0th index is the highest value, so it's going to return the highest values from this array. So it's going to be, so when I save and refresh, so here what I want to print them is the highest. So when I save and refresh, it's going to return 5, right? Even if you have got another element, let's say 45, in this case when you return b minus a, the highest number will be 45, so 0th index will be 45, is going to return 45 too. So if you want to find out the lowest number in that array, everything is same, life is easy. A minus b, you will see the lowest number from the array as for now is 1. So this is how you can use sort method in array. Still, if you fail to understand how the sort function is working, let me give you this final example to make things clear, right? So here what I'm going to do, what we can do, okay, let me just remove everything here. So I'm just going to create an array of objects. Let me say const, I'm going to create students variable. So this student variable is going to have an array of object. So let me say here the first object I can have name is, let me say John, then the age is 35, and let me have two more objects. So here what we can do, we can compare this array of object based on the age. For example, let's say we want to print these details based on the age. Let's say first I want to print the details from the lower to higher, the next time I want to print them to higher to lower. In that case, all you need to do is you're just going to use students as the name of the variable dot sort as a method. Remember, this method is going to take a function. So this function is going to have two parameters to compare. Let's say a comma b. If you want to print these details in an ascending order, meaning from lowest to highest, so all you need to do is you are just going to say return, say a dot age minus b dot age. I hope things are making sense. Now what we are trying to print them is in an ascending order from the person's lowest age to the highest age. And then if you want to display all the details, all you need to do is what we can do, maybe just we can use the for loop just to loop through all the objects. So for, let me say let I is equals to 0, I less than students dot length, I plus plus, and then so inside what we can do, document dot write function, we can print like we can print something interesting inside. We can just say, let's say I want to print them in a paragraph. So within this paragraph, what I want to print them is, let's say I want to print the name first. So this name is going to have the student name, students of I dot name as a method. Then let me just add the break so that the detail would go to the next line. So with this break, what I want to do is we can just print the age, right? So the next line it would go and print the age. So here I just want to concatenate with, go and refresh. You will see name Thomas age 12, name Philip age 22, John age 35 is displaying in an ascending order. In case if you want to change the order, all you need to do is just put this p negative and then the a, so it's going to display the result in descending order, meaning the highest, the John would come first, then Philip, then Thomas, as expected. So this is how you can use sort function in JavaScript. Then the final array method that we are going to discuss is a reverse method. So reverse method is simple. You're just going to reverse the given array. So let me just give you a simple example. Let me say const fruits as a variable. So it's going to have an array. Let me say cherry and maybe one more, banana. So this is a given array. So when you use reverse as a method, it's going to reverse the order. So when I say like fruits dot reverse as a method, so it's going to reverse the actual array. So let me just print the result. So here what I want to print them is the fruits. So this is the actual order of an array starting from apples, cherry and banana. When you use the reverse as a method, it's going to start printing from the banana, cherry, then followed by apple. So let me go and refresh. You will see banana, cherry, apples in the other way around. So this is how reverse method would work in JavaScript. This marks the end of array methods in JavaScript. I hope I've managed to teach everything as much as I can. I hope that you have enjoyed this array method series. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button. And if you're not subscribed to the channel yet, please do subscribe. Thank you so much.